In this lesson, we'll continue to work on the cage for the character's head. So let's go ahead and concentrate up here on the front. Now looking at this, right now you can see that it's kind of a yellow color, and that's just defined by the little temporary colors we have up here, the object color you can see. If we want to change this so that maybe we can see things a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and change this to something maybe like a dark blue, and that'll just make those the wireframe stand out a little bit more. So now what I want to do is kind of add some resolution and start to bring in some of the geometry from the lip around to the cheek. So the first thing I want to do is to add some resolution here. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Subobject, select some edges, and I just want to add on this section right here, I want to add one edge loop. So I'm going to just go ahead and run connect on that and add a single loop there. Let's go ahead and do the same thing to these edges. Do the same thing there. Now on this one, I just want to add one on this side, not necessarily on that side. So I'll go ahead and add one right there. Okay. And then on this one, I'm going to go ahead and add one right in here. Okay. Now we can take all these edges and just shape those a little bit. So anytime you're working with a polygon that's going to be smooth and you add resolution to that, it's going to change the shape of it. So this would have been a smooth curve before, but once you start adding extra resolution in there, you need to go ahead and tweak that, because then those places will get kind of flattened out in many cases if there's kind of a curvature going on there. Alright, so let's get those kind of moved around into position. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to add, you see that we've got a crease here created by this fold of skin that's coming here. So this edge is actually defining the kind of the topmost part of that fold. So what I want to do is create just a little bit of geometry, a thin little strip that we can push back in to create that fold. So I'm going to go ahead and select one edge here, and under our selection rollout, we have the option to select an edge ring. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that, and you can see it selects those edges all the way down from the jaw all the way up to the nose. Okay, so now we have those selected. It's now a simple matter of using connect to add one edge loop. Right now it's in the center, which we don't necessarily want, so we want to slide that. You can see I can slide it that way, but we want to slide it over to this direction. Okay, and just get it into something more like that. Okay, and we can then take some of these vertices here on the inside of this and begin to push those in. So we want to maybe deselect that guy, as that's not really, it's kind of smoothed out at that point. And we'll just kind of push these in a little bit. And you can look here from the front. I'm not going to be doing too much, just kind of push those in. And as it comes up to the nose, it kind of smooths itself out. And also as it comes down here, it'll tend to smooth itself out too. Now in this case, we don't really need these edges to be so close down at this point. So what we can do is go to our top level, and let's go down to Cut under Edit Geometry. And from the point where this starts to smooth out, I can start at this point, and this is just going to allow me to interactively cut this geometry. So you can see as I hover over a vertex, it gives me this little icon. If I hover over an edge, it gives me a different icon. And if I'm on a polygon, it gives me a different one. So I know I'm on a point here. So I'll just click once, and then I'm going to just click down in the center of this edge. Okay, click again, and then click down at the bottom here, and I'll right click to end that. Now I'll go to our edge subobject and select both of these edges. Okay, these are the ones we've just kind of moved, and hold down Control, Backspace, and that just smooths things out. So we want it to be nice and tight up here, but we don't necessarily want that as it comes all the way down. So that just kind of fixes that as it comes down closer down to the bottom of the jaw there. And we can space this out a little bit as well if we want to do that. Okay, so there are areas where we want to be nice and tight, and there are areas where we want to be a little bit more loose. So we can transition those areas back and forth. Alright, so now what we need to do is actually create the geometry between the front of the lip and back here into this fold. So I'm going to go ahead and select the edge right here on the side. If we look in the side view, you can see that that kind of corresponds with this edge right here. Okay, So let's go ahead and do a bridge on that. So it's again under the Edit Edges Rollout. You'll find Bridge, and we'll open up the settings. And let's go ahead and change this to give us 7 segments here. Okay, and you can see that that tends to make this very flat and makes the front of the lip very pointed. So at this point, what we want to do is kind of round that out. Okay, so we can come in and just start to grab some of these edges and just pull those out. Okay, and just kind of create a round lip here. And he's got almost kind of a Simpsons looking lip, and we want to create that sort of a round look. Okay, and this is without looking at our imagery here. We can just sort of get a feel for how this is supposed to look and bring that curvature out. We may have to modify things here if we take a look at the artwork, but you want to make sure that you get this. It goes back into the fold there, but you want to give it a kind of a nice round look. And you can see right now it's maybe a little bit too squared off here. Okay, so we can take some of these edges and maybe just pull those in a bit and just create kind of a nice smooth curve from the front. And we can also select these guys and pull those in so we get kind of a nice curvature as well. You probably want to do the same thing up here. Okay, so just start to do a little bit more shaping. And now you can see here in the front that this isn't quite matching up, so we can come here from the side, also from the front, and start to come in and modify these. And I know that these aren't going to match up exactly right, but that's okay. Okay, and I'll just kind of pull this back. Let's go ahead and pull this back in. We want to have enough geometry in here. You can see this kind of skin flap by the at the end of the mouth there. Okay, and so this is something we're going to have to just kind of compromise a little bit on, I think. So we kind of get it and move this mouth down a little bit, because you can see here that doesn't match up perfectly with that the artwork, that is. So we'll just kind of space things out a little. Okay, and so this is kind of where that mouth is going to stop. And let's go ahead and move this back, and let's move this over, and we'll just kind of space things out a little bit. Okay, so we'll kind of move this over and just go back and forth through your different views and kind of get it looking the way that you want to. You can see where that's a little bit off here and it's a little bit off here. We've kind of gone right in the center of where that drawing is landing us. Okay. All right. So the next thing that we want to do, we've got that kind of top lip defined there. Okay, and anytime you want to check this without the wireframe, if you want to do that, you can just hit F4 to turn off that wireframe. So now the next thing that we want to do is to actually add a loop along the bottom. Okay, along the bottom lip. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to drag this edge from this bottom lip. I'm going to pull this down just a little bit. Okay, and I'll just pull that over from the side there. And so now we want to take this edge right here, and let's go ahead and bridge it with this edge. Okay, and again, so we'll go ahead and do the bridge under Edit Edges, under the rollout. And we've got 7, and now we can come in and shape this. And let's go ahead and match these guys up with the edges from the top lip. Okay. But beyond that, the bottom lip is going to kind of go inside the top lip. Okay, so it's not going to; they're both not going to come out this far. He's got kind of an overbite there, so we want this to kind of be down, under, and inside. Okay, so we'll kind of just give it a nice curve, but the curve is going to be a little bit different from the top. Okay, we'll take this and just kind of pull this in. You can match up the lines there. A lot of times you'll want to match up if you're doing making mouths. You want to have kind of the same resolution on the top and bottom, so that when you kind of animate and close them, a lot of times you'll want them to match up so that you can get a nice close and you don't have any gaps in it. Tends to work a little bit better. Okay, so I'll just kind of match that up a little bit, and maybe this can come down slightly. and just look at your model from all the different sides, and keep in mind that this line here is basically the edge of our lip. So we still have that lip geometry to add this. Okay, so it's not necessarily encompassing the entire lip. It's just that lip geometry where that edge is, where it meets the skin. Okay, now up here, I want to actually connect these together. Right now they are separate. Okay, and to do that, we need to weld those vertices together. Anytime you have pieces of the same editable poly and you have vertices that you need to combine, you can weld those together. So I'm going to go ahead, and you can see the weld right here under the Edit Vertices rollout. I'll go ahead and select both of these vertices, and I'll just bring up the edit or the weld settings, and you can see here's a threshold, and what that's basically saying is that any vertices that you have selected that are within this threshold of in this case 0.1 units are going to be welded together. This will tell you how many vertices you have before the weld and how many you're going to have after. Now you can see that my threshold is not set high enough, so that nothing is happening. If I go ahead and just take this up, you can see that at about 0.2, 0.3, that those vertices now snap together. After I do that, you can see that after I'm going to have one fewer vertex. Okay, so I can go ahead and apply that, say yes, and I can do the same thing down here. Okay, if I go ahead and hit weld, it'll basically use the last settings, which in this case work fine for us. Okay, so that gives us this geometry sort of combined together. Alright, so we're starting to get something that looks a little bit more like our character. Starting to get some of the main topology built in for in this case, the mouth or along the nose and so forth. So just go in and kind of tweak the shape, and you want to get a nice curve around here and a nice curve in here that are just a little bit different. You want this to be kind of inside of the upper lip so that it kind of overlaps the bottom lip there. Okay? So get it to this point, and again, if you want to start from any of these project files, they'll just be saved numerically according to what lesson you want to start. So in the next lesson, I think what we want to do is to actually continue working up here on this area and maybe work on the nose area and start to fill some of this in as we go. But we're starting to get the main areas in, and it's actually starting to look like something, so that's good. So we'll go ahead and continue on by working on our geometry cage here for the character's head in the next lesson.